All right, folks, the hottest new Kickstarter for Shadowdark is here. Find out more today on Runeforged. Hey folks, I'm William, this is Runeforged, welcome to the channel. Today we're taking a quick look at the brand new Secret Tomes for Shadowdark, which is available to back right now on Kickstarter, and there'll be a link to do so down in the video description. I did just want to say this is not a sponsored video. I just saw this the other day in the third-party Thursdays in the official Arcane Library newsletter, which you should definitely be subscribed to. And I thought it looked like a cool project, and I wanted to give it a bit of a shout out. Now, when I originally planned to do this video, I kind of assumed that this was maybe like a lesser known project and that maybe they could use my help to push them over their funding goal or whatever. But now, as you can clearly see by looking at the screen, they've already blown past their initial pledge goal of 10,000. So they're now like almost $23,000. So clearly this project did not need my help, but I definitely wanted to talk about it nonetheless. All right, so I'm not going to watch this introductory video here on stream because I don't want to get copyright struck. But I do recommend that you do check it out, especially if you are a fan of the Deathbringer character from the Dungeon Craft YouTube channel. All right, so moving down here to the main section, what are the BattleZoo Secret Tomes? And it says this is published by Roll for Combat. The 3 BattleZoo Secret Tomes will plunge your Shadowdark campaigns into deeper, deadlier darkness, unleashing hundreds of award-winning monsters, brutal new player options, and new rules forged for the Torchlit Crawl. So some very evocative text here. Roll for Combat is a group that I've only very recently become aware of, even though they have a very long history of making stuff, I believe primarily for 5e and I want to say Pathfinder 2nd Edition. But yeah, Roll for Combat, they've been around for quite a while. I think they've had like 9 or so already successfully funded and delivered Kickstarters. So I think they're pretty well known in the mainstream TTRPG space for creating some really cool supplements for these various different games. So I'm really excited to see that they've decided to try their hand at Shadowdark. All right, so it says that each book is standalone and bound in a distinct theme, carved from the bones of forgotten behemoths. All right, so it looks like there's 3 different books here, the first of which is called Monster Hunt, which drags you into the world stalked by nightmare beasts, creatures that devour villages whole, and the grim heroes who hunt them down with blood-soaked steel. So again, it's a very evocative writing here. The next book is Strange and Unusual, which peels back the veil of reality, revealing creatures warped by the unknown and classes that twist the rules of magic, flesh, and reason itself. So that kind of sounds like an eldritch horror themed book. And finally, we've got the Elemental Storm. Shatters the world, unleashes terrors spawned by volcanoes, storms, and the grinding, shuddering bones of the earth. Forces too wild to contain and too ancient to be given names. Yeah, the writing here is definitely going for a very particular theme, which I very much like. Also, it says that the rules were designed in concert with our very own assistant librarian and Shadowdark freelancer Michael Putlack, who's also got some really fantastic stuff of his own. I think it's Noon Night Games is his company. Very very cool stuff. I've actually got some of his things in the hopper to look at for this channel, so that should be really exciting. A very quick plug here from Kelsey Dion, the creator of the Arcane Library and the Shadowdark RPG. Always nice to see Kelsey endorsing the third-party community for Shadowdark products. Very much appreciate that. And she says this is a AAA material coming from an indie-sized team, and that might be the highest form of praise that you could possibly give a supplement like this. All right, so scrolling down here a little bit to what is in the books. First of all, just some gorgeous looking artwork. I do know that one of the main selling features of the book they talk about a lot in kind of the marketing and stuff, the promotional materials, is that there is a ton of custom made art for these books. And if I'm not mistaken, when they were originally planning out these supplements, they did a poll about whether or not they should include the original color art that was included in some of the 5e or Pathfinder kind of versions of these books, or if they should go ahead and spring for some more thematic black and white art. And I think that poll pretty handily said that they should do black and white. And they produced all of this new, very awesome old school looking art, probably at a very high premium in terms of cost, in terms of getting those books created. So I think that's a really good sign that the creators are, listening to community feedback and are definitely willing to put in the work to adapt their existing books to this new game in Shadowdark, which I think is a very promising sign. All right, next we've got, let's see here. Each secret tome for Shadowdark is crammed with crawling horrors, forbidden classes, forgotten spells, brutal new rules, twisted player options, and far darker things best left unspoken. All right, so another shout out for Michael Putlack here, which is fantastic. Love to see him working on some of these third-party things, which is fantastic. All right, so each book has about over 250 pages per volume, as they call it here, also brimming with grim, glorious illustrations, and they point out that no AI art was used in the making of these books. Looks like there are between 100 and 150 monsters per book. And I do know that they are themed to the various different books. So it's not really like this kitchen sink approach where they're just kind of throwing everything in there. They really are trying to make each book thematic to a particular type of thing. So that's very, very cool. Also, one of the big features of these new books is this new monster part system, which is essentially like a gathering and crafting system that revolves around hunting down monsters and then using their parts to create really cool stuff. And that does sound very exciting. And it goes on to talk a little bit more about the monster parts system. I do know that there are many new classes, new abilities, and I don't know if this is for everyone or just for a particular class, but I know that there are some characters that can gain additional powers or abilities based on the creatures that they've slain, and that also sounds very cool. And I know this is important to a lot of you, but each of these new books does follow the same form factor as the Shadowdark core rulebook, being in that A5 digest size. And also appear to be hardcover versions as well. So I think the main draw here is that they should blend in or stand up next to the core Shadowdark books very nicely. So that's great. Also, in addition to the books, you also get hundreds of free digital files, tokens, and more. I imagine this is going to be like tokens and maps. I think they mentioned there were some mini adventures that went along with some of these things. So that is very cool. All right, next we got the craft gear and infuse magic with monster parts. We already covered that a little bit. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about this. I think you guys kind of get the gist of what that system might look like, but it is very cool. All right, continuing on, looks like there's going to be 12 new classes included in these books. So Monster Hunt is book number 1. So that brings us the Monster Mage, who consumes the arcane essence of slain beasts to learn spells torn from their souls. Is it the Blue Mage from Final Fantasy that kind of does this as well? Definitely let me know down in the comments. I may be misremembering, but I think that's a very cool idea. Next, we've got the Monster Chef, because of course we do with the what is the new anime that everybody's been talking about? Delicious in Dungeon. I'm sure there's a bunch of other things to do that as well, but seems to be a very common trope in the zeitgeist right now. Let's see. Monster Chef turns monster meat into meals that warp the body and mind. Okay, so it's maybe like a support class kind of. I think that's really interesting. Next, we've got the classic Monster Hunter, which is one of my favorite archetypes. You stalk giants and shadows alike, cling to their hides, strike at weak points, tear them down piece by piece, or seize small monsters in your grip and turn their own fangs against the enemy. That's kind of a cool idea. This is not like the idea of using other monsters to fight other monsters is not something that I've seen or think is really part of the core Monster Hunter archetype, but I'm interested to see what that looks like when it comes out. Beast collection. Every battle leaves a mark and you wear it. Graft claws to your gauntlets, embed eyes into your helm, and fuse scaled hide into your flesh. Oh yeah, I did see this class. I wonder if this is meant to be saying Beast Collector. I think the name of this class is Beast Collector, not Beast Collection. So that might be a little bit of typo, or I may just be misremembering. Says these aren't heroes, they're survivors who stared into the maw and bitten back. I think that is very cool. I do like my dark fantasy, so this looks right up my alley. Some more amazing looking artwork here. I kind of like this goblin, even though I'm not usually a huge fan of goblin PCs. For some reason, this guy just kind of speaks to me. So, all right. So moving on to the next book, which is The Strange Unusual. This is like the more Eldritch horror kind of themed one, I think. It says, Strange Unusual tome pulls back the veil, revealing powers that were not meant for mortal hands. These classes are touched by the unknowable, perfect for those who dare to walk the edge of soul warping shadow. All right, so we've got 4 new classes here. We've got the Aberrant Soul. Let's see. You are becoming something else. Gain terrifying powers as you slowly transform into an aberration. Interesting. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but I know there are some people out there that are really going to like that type of class. Next, we've got the Cypher. You are the shadow. Slip through the darkness, bend your face into another's, and let the gloom obey your will. Masters of stealth, deception, and silent strikes. Very cool. I like that a lot. Next is the Weird Caller. It says, open the gate, let them through. As a Weird Caller, you summon eldritch entities from realms best left sealed. Very cool. It's like a summoner class. Again, very much an eldritch theme going on with this one. Next, we've got the Investigator. There are secrets beneath the surface, and you dig them up with blade and lantern. Track the strange, unravel ancient horrors, and when the truth stares back at you, don't blink. Yeah, Investigator is a very classic archetype in these kind of eldritch horror type of games, so I think this is a very reasonable inclusion here in that book. All right, looks like we got some additional artwork here. Very cool. And then moving on to Elemental Storm, which is the third book in the series. So let's see. Elemental Storm Tome channels the untamed fury of the world's primal forces. These classes wield elemental might like living weapons. Now, this is very much up my alley. I do love elemental themed stuff in my games, and I don't think that we get enough of it in traditional D&D, and I don't think there's a ton of it in Shadowdark by default either. So I think this is very cool. The Elemental Bomber class, if I remember correctly, is kind of like an alchemist. Let's see. Fuse volatile elemental forces into bombs that shatter flesh and stone alike. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, it definitely seems like some sort of elemental themed alchemist, which is very, very cool. Next, we've got the Geomancer. The land itself obeys your will. It's a good line. Crush foes beneath shifting stone, entwine them with grass and vines, or sting them with the merciless sands of the desert. Those who oppose you must step carefully. The land is your ally and your vengeance. Yeah, the Geomancer in particular seems very cool to me. This is probably a class that I would play personally. I think this, again, all this writing is very evocative and does a really good job of kind of nailing the overall tone of these various different classes. So very, very good. Elemental Knight is also another personal favorite of mine in terms of archetypes go. Your armor burns with fire. Your blade hums with storm wrath. Imbued with raw elemental power, you are a living tempest. A shield and sword no enemy can withstand. Very cool. And finally, just the classic elementalist. Master the primal elements and unleash their devastating power on friend and foe alike. I think we've all seen the elementals in other games. I'm really excited to see it come to Shadowdark. Again, this is another class that I would absolutely play. So yeah, this book in general, I think it's going to have some pretty strong appeal, either for me personally or for very select members of my table. So very, very cool. All right, in addition to those new classes, we've also got hundreds of new monsters to add into our Shadowdark games. We can see an example of what those stat blocks look like here. We've got some awesome looking art here in addition to the stat blocks. And it looks like a pretty lengthy section of like lore related stuff and maybe even some like gameplay related tie-ins to the actual mechanics. So very, very cool. All right, moving on. This art is really, really good. I can only imagine how much they spent on commissioning all these various different pieces. Absolutely insane. I'm especially a fan. I don't know, is this like some sort of like Fey Archer kind of character? I really like that one in particular. Very, very cool. All right, so Monster Hunt. This is book 1. Monster Hunt is a grim compendium of monsters twisted by strange magic, ancient curses, and forgotten truths. I think in terms of the actual monsters, this book is going to have the ones that I am most interested in. All right, each creature is more than a foe. They are secrets wrapped in flesh, nightmares with purpose, and forces that reshape the world around them. I'm really curious to know what is the implication of this sentence. Like, is this just fluff, or does this have some sort of implication for the way that these monsters are written? Maybe they're kind of alluding to like the pretty extensive amount of flavor text that they have for each monster. I'm curious to know what that actually means. Crafted specifically for Shadowdark, as we saw, Michael has been working on those, on the conversions of these monsters from other systems into Shadowdark, which I think is very, very cool. Next, we've got the monsters from the Strange and Unusual section. Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily have much to say on those. These are not necessarily the type of creatures that I would run in my game. So I'm going to move past those. And then Elemental Storm. Let the storm rage on. I am a big fan of elemental monsters in general, and I'm curious to see what they end up coming out with in this book. Okay, now I guess we are kind of into the section where they kind of pitch you on the different options that are available for backing the Kickstarter. So it looks like they do have a premium slipcase set. It does look very nice. Let's see, anything interesting in here? Secret Tome hardcovers with black leatherette covers, gold foil stamping. Again, digest size, so the same size as the Shadowdark core rulebook, which people seem to really enjoy. Yep. So these just look like very high quality books in general. 3 ribbon bookmarks is absolutely insane. Yeah, I think you're lucky usually just to get 1 bookmark in most of these TTRPG books, and 3 is quite a bit. Smith sewn lay flat bindings. Yes, that is the 3rd time that I've had to say that. Is a very popular option here in the community. Basically, every time I see people talking about physical books, it's they want more bookmarks, they want it Smith sewn, and they want to make sure that the books lay flat when they are using them. So it looks like these books have got all of their bases covered, at least on that front. Very, very cool. All right. In addition, they also have a preview available. I think this is a 16-page PDF, just kind of giving you a quick overview of what is available in these books. So this is the Monster Hunt preview. Again, some really gorgeous art. I don't know how to describe this style, but I really do like it. Yeah, I'm just a big fan of the overall art style for the book. Also looks like it's got a little bit of a rundown of the Monster Mage class, as well as some of their various different mechanics, some of the spells that are available for the Monster Mage. And then also, yeah, here's the Beast Collector class. So yeah, it is Beast Collector, not Beast Collection class, which makes more sense to me personally. But yeah, so you can dig through these if you want a little bit more information about the various classes. This must be the Monster Collector. This art is so cool. And I think it is really evocative. Like, yeah, they literally just go around slaying these monsters, and then they literally just take parts of them and like graft those parts onto themselves to make them stronger. This is not a class fantasy that I am particularly interested in, but I do think it is very cool, very unique, and I'm sure that there are going to be a ton of players out there that are really excited to get their hands on this type of class. So very, very cool. Looks like we also got some additional weapons here. The main thing about this one is the ability Fine-Tuned. Treat as a +1 weapon against the monster type the cudgel is constructed of. Okay, interesting. It looks like both of these have Fine-Tuned. It's really interesting. I think it's a cool concept. This does feel very situational, and a +1 bonus doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I feel like you're probably going to replace these items fairly quickly, and after which point they're not really going to be super useful. I wonder if it might be better for these to be +2 or +3 versions against the specific monster type that they're pulled from. That might make their level of specialization worth it, whereas as they are right now, I kind of feel like people might use these for like maybe a level or 2 kind of early in the game, and then after that they're probably going to abandon them for just generic +1 magic weapons. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that works out in the long run, and maybe there's a lot more to the system that we're not currently able to see. Like maybe you can upgrade these through obtaining more monster parts, something like that, and that might make it a more appealing choice in the long term relative to just like kind of your generic magic items. But yeah, again, some very cool looking art here. I'm really excited by the sheer amount and quality of the art in these books so far. And a little bit of a quick preview of some of the various different monsters. Again, we are seeing quite a bit of flavor text available and some additional sections here for some additional supplemental information about the monsters, in addition to everything that you would need to actually run them at the table. So very, very cool. But yeah, so going back to the main Kickstarter page here, I know there's also, a dungeon design contest that's going along with this. I'm not going to go into this in super detail, but if you back the Kickstarter at a certain tier, you are eligible to participate in this dungeon design contest. And I believe that these dungeons, they're going to be run at Gen Con, and I feel like are they also going to be included in the final books as kind of digital add-ons? I think I did see that, but again, you might want to read through these to make sure that I'm getting all the information correct. I do think this dungeon design contest is very cool. And I understand why they're doing this, but I am a little bit sad that it is locked behind the $59 physical tier. I think it would have been really nice if people who back digitally also had the opportunity to participate in this dungeon crawling contest. But again, I understand this is tied into marketing in some way. They obviously spent a great deal of money producing these books. They probably spent an absolute fortune on art alone. So I understand that they are probably trying to incentivize people to go for some of the higher tiers. So I'm not mad about it, but I definitely would have preferred to see this be open to the digital tier as well. But yeah, very, very cool idea. I'm a huge fan of game jams and design contests and stuff like that. I'd love to see more of those in the Shadowdark community overall. So I think this is a really cool addition to the overall Kickstarter. All right, continuing down here. All right, yeah, so here's the preview and beta test for the Deathbringer stuff. Man, this art is so good. It gives me very 80s vibes, and I'm absolutely here for it. Yeah, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on the Deathbringer stuff. Definitely feel free to go over to the Kickstarter page, link down in the description, and get a little bit more information on that if you are interested. Next, they've got a little bit of information about the various different pledge levels. Looks like the digital tier is coming in at $60, which includes all 3 of the main PDFs, 15 mini adventures, 12 pre-made characters, several digital assets and VT tokens for the various different creatures, and all digital stretch goals as well. Oh, wait a second. Sorry. It says 3 entries in the Shadowdark Dungeon Design Contest for the PDF version. I wonder if I misread earlier, or if there's some sort of typo going on here that might need to be clarified. But so maybe I have misinformation about what tier you need to back at in order to participate in the contest. If so, I do apologize for that misinformation. And hopefully Steven or one of his people will be down in the comments correcting anything incorrect that I happen to say during the course of this video. And of course, you also get the Deathbringer sneak peek and playtest access. I'm not sure if this is immediate or if it's going to be down the line, but I am actually very interested in Deathbringer. I think he's a very cool character. And I'm really curious to see what what Professor DM's RPG ends up looking like when it is completed. So we'll probably be checking that out on the channel when it does come out. So very, very cool. Yeah, I'm not going to go through each one of these different Kickstarter options individually. I'll just scroll past if you want to take a look. If you've really made it this far, you probably are interested in getting a little bit more information. So you might as well just go check out the Kickstarter page. Okay, there's also some information here about stretch goals. Very cool. Man, this is an awesome piece of art. Is this like some sort of like orc, like animal shaman or druid? I think that's really, really cool. That's awesome. Oh, are there more classes? Are these? Oh, these might be stretch goals. Okay. Okay. So there are more classes that are available for stretch goals. The Monster Jester. Is that what this guy's supposed to be? That doesn't make sense to me. That does not look like a Monster Jester to me. But yeah, so it looks like there's a couple different classes available as stretch goals. Hex Dancer, interesting. Spell Gambler. Oh man, don't let Ian see that. And of course, the obligatory disclaimer for risks and challenges. As you guys all know, backing Kickstarters is somewhat risky. You know, there's always a small chance that the creators aren't going to be able to deliver on their original vision, or they may not deliver at all. But I do feel pretty good about this one personally. I think the Roll for Combat folks have done at least like 9 of these before. And as far as I'm aware, pretty much everyone has been really happy with the overall quality of the stuff that's been delivered. So personally, I would feel pretty good about backing this one, but obviously that's a decision you're going to have to make for yourself. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, please consider watching this next one, which should be popping up on your screen right about now. In the meantime, please go check out the BattleZoo Secret Tomes Kickstarter. And again, there will be a link to do that down in the video description. Honestly, it looks really cool. And it seems very clear to me that they've worked very closely with the team over at the Arcane Library and also have a proven track record of being able to deliver on their Kickstarter promises. So if this does look interesting to you, definitely go check it out. Anyway, I think that's about it for now. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.